Well, hey there, East Main Baptist Church. As always, thanks for tuning in for another real short talk with Ryan as we continue our walk through the Psalms. Today, we are in Psalm 129. And I want us to consider this question: how do you face suffering and injustice? Right, we don't have to look around very far to see the great quantity of suffering and injustice in our world, right? People that we know, people that we don't know, people in our communities, people around our state, people around our world deal with suffering and injustice day after day after day. Maybe you deal with suffering and injustice day after day after day. All right, they are oppressed by those who have more power than they are. People are put down. They are made to feel less than they are. They are not treated as those who have been created in the image of God. They are not treated as they are valuable, right? They face suffering and injustice. So how are we to face that? How are we to deal with that? Well, I think this psalm gives us some wisdom for our lives. What does it say? It says, "Greatly they have afflicted me from my youth." Let Israel now say, right? He wants the people to acknowledge their suffering. Right? And that's the first way that we have to deal with suffering and injustice, is to acknowledge its reality. Acknowledge that things are not right, that we live in a fallen and broken world and people often do not act as they should. Things in nature happen that were not originally intended to happen, right? Things are not always good. "Greatly they have afflicted me from my youth, yet they have not prevailed against me. The plowers plowed upon my back, they made long their furrows." Right? The history of Israel is a history of being oppressed by other people, right? They are in Egypt, and then they deal with the people in the land, the Philistines and the Canaanites and all of this, and again, this goes on. Right? So the first thing we have to do, whether it's our life or we're looking at suffering in others whom we're questioning, we have to acknowledge it does exist, right? We don't have to paint the world with the bright colors and wear these rose-colored glasses where we just, suffering's not real, right? Suffering is real, but so is this next part, right? "The Lord is righteous. He has cut the cords of the wicked." We acknowledge the suffering, we acknowledge its reality, but then we embrace God's righteousness. God is still righteous, right? Even though the suffering exists, we have to set our hope on the character of God, that He is righteous, that He sees the suffering of His people, that He is still present in their circumstances, that He is still working for good, right? Even when we can't see it, we can trust that He is working. So we acknowledge the reality, we embrace God's righteousness, and the third thing is we trust God's justice. So the last part of this psalm, it really is calling down judgment upon their enemies, right? "May all who hate Zion be put to shame and turned backwards. Let them be like the grass on the housetops, which withers before it grows up, with which the reaper does not fill his hand, nor the binder of sheaves his arm. Nor those who pass by say, 'The blessing of the Lord be upon you.' We bless you in the name of the Lord." He doesn't want any of that to happen. Right? He's trusting God's justice. Right? We can trust that our God is a God of righteousness. Our God is a God of justice. That He does not like to see this suffering of people any more than we do. And that He is working to make things right. Right? Ultimately, He works to make things right in the form of Jesus Christ, the Son of God and fully man, come into the world to save us from our sins. One day, everything will be restored when Christ returns. But He's also working through His servants, through His people, to bring justice into the world. Right? To do things not their way, but to do things His way. So we can acknowledge the reality. We can embrace God's righteousness. We can know that He is working, and we can trust His justice. That those who lead to the suffering of others, those who oppress other people, those who commit injustice will ultimately find judgment at the hands of God. Not our hands, but at the hands of God. And in the meantime, we can work in small ways to relieve the suffering of others and to be lights that carry God's justice into the world, and always strive to treat others justly, right? We don't want to contribute to the injustice being done. Hey, thanks for tuning in this week. I hope it encouraged you, hope it exhorted you, hope it charged you, and I hope to see you back next week.